Welcome, Viktor, to the Nifty Travel podcast. How are you?
Thank you, Alex. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invitation. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. And thanks for coming on the show. So, as you know, this travel podcast is, well, it's all about travel. And I guess one of the first things I wanted to ask you is, about your earliest travel memories. How did you find out that this was something that was going to be important to you?
That's a great question. I have my earliest memory goes back to the age of 3. So I was very little, and the first time I traveled was on the Trans-Siberian Railway with my mama. My mother was living in the eastern part of Russia. So that was also the place where I was born, and my dad, he grew up in on the other side. So when I was born, my parents decided they want to move to my father's home. So the first travel was by plane. We took the plane to fly all over, and then the years after, I was visiting my grandparents, and my mom was going with me alone. She was 18 when she got me. She was 21 when she first time traveled alone with myself with the baby for about 10 days on the train. So that was quite an experience because a lot of things happened during these travels. We met so many people. There was a lot of good memories, but also some struggles as well. My mom, she once she forgot her bag with her purse and all the money and the documents. When we were in Moscow, we went to the bathroom, and there, because it was because of me, I wanted to go to the toilet, and she was, we were in a hurry, so she brought me there. She put me on the toilet, and then she forgot her purse, and later she went back, and it was gone. So she was there standing alone, 20 years old, with a 3-year-old child, um, with no money, with no documents, and still 7 days of travel to go. Yeah, that was quite a journey.
Wow, it sounds like it. Um, so I guess it was one of those moments then that you don't forget, do you? A dramatic moment in a sense.
Yes, it was quite well. My memory is not that clear, of course, but the stories the that my mother told afterwards, and she's still telling them for like for years now, and so I kind of have the stories as memories stored in my mind. So every time she tells a story, I can visualize some parts of the travel, and the memories were pretty good as well, because on the way we met so many friendly people who were helping us. And she was telling also the story of me when we got on the train. um, there was a nice guy who actually gave us some money to buy the train tickets for a part of the travel. So and then the first thing she was telling me, I was walking through the train and just telling everybody hi, and telling that them that we just got robbed. So somebody stole our money and we didn't have anything left, nothing to eat. I was like telling it in a childish, funny way, and everybody was so yeah, kind of amused and shocked. So everybody came to help us and brought us food, and yeah, it was really amazing to, you know, have this kind of support throughout the time, and yeah, we made it successfully, and everything was fine afterwards.
And I guess that your mother sounds like an amazing uh, storyteller, and all those stories that she told you about the journey. Uh, I guess that's kind of gave you a seed that you felt that you needed to carry on this thing called travel. How was it for you?
Yes, definitely. So for me, it was always this kind of feeling of home that I had when I was traveling with her. So because we also moved quite often. When I was very little, we moved 4 or 5 times in Russia. Then we moved to Germany, and in Germany we moved a lot of times. So I never had this kind of sense of feeling home bound to a place, but rather to a human. So for when I was a kid, it was my mom. Now it is my partner who I travel with. So I've always had this kind of sense of comfort while traveling, while being away in foreign places, because I always had some reference person. And even when I traveled on my own, I always found the comfort in community. So I never felt like I needed some place to be. So yeah, for now, I can definitely say that the world is kind of my home. So I don't have a, yeah, fixed place, which is yeah, feels really really nice.
So I guess as you grew up in Germany, then I guess that desire became greater and greater. That you eventually felt that yeah, Germany's my home, but maybe I should go out into the world. How did it kind of play out?
Hmm. Yeah, so actually, in the beginning, it was quite the opposite. So when we first moved to Germany, there was quite a big cultural shock for me moving into completely new environment, especially without knowing the language. So I felt quite lost in the beginning. I was still young, of course, but I was already 11 years old. So I had like my friends back in Russia. I had quite a comfortable situation. And then we moved to a totally different culture. Everything was new. My mom was pregnant. She didn't have that much time to take care for me. So it was quite of, yeah, I was doing a lot of things on my own, and it felt very very foreign to me to have like a completely new environment without making connections. So the most difficult part was basically to get to know, yeah, to get friends, because I didn't have the ability to speak to them. There was a lot of people who I liked, but I couldn't really talk to them. So I was, yeah, I was looking for people who would understand me. So of course, in the beginning, it was Russian friends. I had some Russian friends, and then I was learning the language step by step. And at some point, I came to high school, and then there was this opportunity of going for an exchange to England and to France. And all of my classmates, they were like, "Yeah, yeah, we should apply. Definitely, it's gonna be great." And inside of me there was a kind of fear. I felt like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I still had the memory back then, moving to another place, not knowing any language, not knowing anybody, and feeling very discomfortable. So at that time I was quite scared about this. But then after school, when I moved to university and found out that a lot of my friends were about to travel and doing all kinds of experiences, and for me, it kind of clicked. I was like, why shouldn't I give it another try? Why shouldn't I just go and explore? Because there's only one life we have to live. Why should I, like, yeah, um, have this fear controlling my decisions. So yeah, I was going out there. I was traveling. The first time I went. I went on a festival with some friends, and then I decided I want to go on a journey on my own for the first time. So I traveled to Portugal for the first time on my own, and visited friends in Spain, and went to France, and that was an amazing experience for me. And since then, it never ended.
Yeah. So what was it about those, you made that decision and you started going to see your friends. Uh, what was it about those experiences that really well confirmed that this was going to be a very strong part of your life going forward?
Mm, so I think what made the most impact was that I found out how easy it was in the first place. So when the fear went off, and I discovered that it's not so much different. Like the world is a, I mean, of course, it's quite a. It depends on where you go, and it countries cultures are very very different. But at some place there is always this kind of humanity within us that is equal wherever we go. So what I found is that it doesn't really matter like where you go. If you go to Africa or Asia or to Europe or whatever, you would always find kindness wherever you go. So even if you are lost and don't know what is going on, if you have struggles in life, you would always have the possibility to share and to get help. Um, so this is what I learned when I was very very little, as I told you in this story, and this is what I learned throughout my traveling experience. So whenever I went, we were in a situation, or I was in a situation where I felt uncomfortable, I didn't know what to do, I would always find someone who would provide some good advice and some help, and that made a lot of things easier. And of course it's about the experience itself, to see the world from different angles, different perspectives. Because when I grew up in Europe, I mean, I knew Russia. I was familiar that there was something different out there in the world. But a lot of friends that I have, they would live in Germany, and when we were talking, they would see the world from this only point of view, and it would feel like everything else is the same for them. So wherever they go, each place, so the way of thinking, the way of communities work and everything, or politics, they would always have the reference of Germany. But it's actually not. Germany is a very very small part of this world. Also, Europe is so small compared to other parts of the world. So um, it's totally the opposite. So the
Mm.
world, how it functions outside of our comfort zone, is totally different. And I think this experience brought me to a very special place, where I am at right now in my mindset. So that I know that there is so much more to discover and to learn, and to also learn about the world, but also to learn about ourselves as human beings. Um, so yeah, that's that's my answer.
Yeah. So, well, I'll talk about some of the experiences that you've had along the way that you felt have been really, really rewarding. Talk about some.
So very rewarding experience. There's so many. I can't really think of something very very specific, but um, yeah, when I was telling you about going to different places, and every time experience this kind of human kindness, that is something that I think um, is very special when you go with a mindset of, a traveler. And you're not so experienced in travel. What I had in the beginning was a kind of sense of judgment. So I would feel that people would judge me that I am from Europe, especially traveling to countries that are developing, still developing. So Asia and Africa, where you can see the poverty, you can see how different people live, with what conditions, with what uh, small amount of wealth they can survive. And so I went to these places, and I was always like feeling uncomfortable talking to the people, because I always felt like being judged from being a European. And this mindset was completely shattered when we met, when we started to meet people who were just simply giving us their hospitality and buying things for us, even though they didn't have a lot of money, offering us home, and just being purely kind, without expecting anything from you. That was really, it was very, very, very special experience. One I can tell you was. Well, it's a very small one, but when we went to Malaysia the first time, we my partner and me were just first time in Malaysia, and some suburbs, quite non-touristy. It was before the Chinese New Year. Everything was closed except like a small local market. And I mean, by small local market, I don't know if you have ever been to Asia. It's just like you have an umbrella, and then you would have like a guy or a woman making, some bread, some kind of it's called roti canai. They do it with with some kind of it's a very cool to see how they perform it. It looks like an art. They do it, and it's basically on a very small stove, and they have like their gas bottle there, and they have like some boxes, and like very, very cheap and like local looking kind of stand. And they have these small plastic chairs they just put on the street somewhere, and then there would be like chickens running around and like kids playing, and it's like a little bit messy. And you first time we went, we were like, oh, I'm not sure if we should eat here actually. But then we were like, why not? People go there, like all the locals people who live there, they go there to eat breakfast, so why shouldn't we? So we went there, and we were like, hey, talking to them in English, and they were like, yes, welcome. And they just brought us everything they had, all the different kinds of food, just offering it to us. And we were about to pay afterwards. It was super delicious. We were about to pay, and then the cook told us that some guy from that we just exchanged a few words with, he just paid for us already. And it was
Wow.
for no reason. It was just because we went there, and we were open, and we were talking to the people, and we were interested in what they were doing, asking them about the food and the culture, and they were really eager to share with us without any judgment about who we were, because we were white and looked European, of course, and earned maybe 10,000 times or even more money than them. So that was a very, very special experience, and I can tell plenty of those kind of things that we encountered.
Do you find that your senses are now changing wherever you go?
Yes, definitely. I'm not sure if you know like these kind of deja vu experiences, when you just smell something, and it instantly reminds you on a situation on from somewhere in the past. And it happens all the time. So I got a lot of flashbacks by just simply going through the streets and smelling stuff. And just also the food, especially when you have tried something very specific and very well new to your taste buds, then um, this is like a core memory that is created because this is the first time ever that you experience something like this. I don't know if you have ever tried durian, for example. It's a very popular fruit in Asia. They eat it with gloves because it's so smelly you cannot really touch it with your hands because they will sting forever. So this particular smell, whenever I was approaching a market or a store, I would instantly smell it. And I mean, this is a weird smell, of course, but I I'm sure I will never forget this kind of smell. And also the spices that you try in Mauritius. They eat a lot of Indian spices. Or we've been to Morocco. They have their own spices. They eat a lot of food with cinnamon, for example. I was very critical before. I didn't like cinnamon at all, especially because in Germany they put it a lot on dessert, and I think I overate it when I was a kid. So, but there I discovered the completely new way of using cinnamon, for example. So I love to cook. Also, when I travel to a new place, what we do is we go to a local supermarket or on the market, and we just buy whatever is there and ask the people how to prepare it, or Google for receipts. So when I was cooking a tagine for the first time, I was like, okay, you put cinnamon in the food. I was very skeptical about it, and then I tried, prepared it for the first time, and it was so amazed by the taste. So, since then, I think I did it 20 times. Even yesterday, we cooked with cinnamon.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's it definitely is an experience. Yeah.
So, how important do you think curiosity is to a traveler?
Oh, I think it's crucial. If you're not curious, I think you would find yourself very well, scared or disgusted most of the times, especially when you travel to very foreign places. And some things are pretty weird, to be honest. Like, yeah, in Morocco, when we went there, there was a national holiday they had. It's called the sacrifice. It's called the Sacrifice Festival, something like that. So they have like a weekend where they have where they sacrifice sheep. So they there was a huge place in front of the Carrefour supermarket, which is a very big, like, modern supermarket, and there was a shopping mall, and they put like this whole big area of the size of a football field where they were selling sheep, like living sheep. And so we were wondering, like, how do they do it? Would they just, buy a sheep and then they would slaughter it? Like, there would be some slaughterhouse, and they would bring it there. And so we were just wondering how they do it. Until one day I was sitting at home and was working, and I was like, Juliet, can you smell it? Like, it's a weird smell. I think it smells like sheep. And she was like, yeah, definitely smells like sheep. It seems like it's coming from the house. So we were living in a flat in an Airbnb, and it was just coming straight out of the hallway. So we opened the door, and I went up the stairs, and there were two sheep, living sheep, in the stairs. They were just attached to the stairs. So they just bought the sheep, and they just brought it in their not in their flat, but like in front of the flat. And the day after, they would just slaughter it themselves on the rooftop. So for us, I mean, okay, I'm from Russia. My father was also working in this kind of meat business before, so I knew like what how a slaughterhouse would look from inside. So I wasn't that disgusted by it. But when we showed it to friends of ours, they were like shocked. They were like, how is this possible? How can they do such a thing to an animal? How they put it there and they slaughter that? So, I mean, yes, I can understand it from the both sides, because on the one part, it's the culture. It's the culture. They have been doing this for I don't know how many hundreds of years. And on the other hand, it's also something that we would not never do in Europe anymore. We would not even, buy an animal shaped looking piece of meat anymore. We always have like this, kind of processed products in the supermarkets. We would never see, for example, what they sell here or like in Morocco. Back in Morocco, they would sell like a whole pig basically, so the whole body of the pig or the head, you would see it in the supermarket. And yeah, the first time it was weird, but when you travel, you will figure out that this is something that belongs to the culture, and the only way how you can cope with this is to ask about what it is about, what is the story behind it, why they use it, why they do it in this way, how they do it. And being curious about the cultural aspects gives you a lot of understanding for it, and for the values also, because we have different values here in the Western world, definitely. So yeah, I think this is something that you need to teach yourself. And if you want to travel, this is what you gotta do.
Okay, I was just going to tell you briefly about an experience uh, I had in Malaysia myself, and I wanted to know whether you've had any
Mm,
experiences like it. And basically, I was on a journey with Singapore Airlines when they were quite a young airline, and they offered a 3 day trip for free if I would fly with them. So I said, yes, you can go anywhere in our network. So I chose to go to a place called Kuantan uh, in eastern Malaysia. And I stayed at a local hotel. It was the only hotel for 500 miles. And I decided I'd love to go and have a look around. And the hotel offered me a trip. And I went to a local uh, village. It just looked like a normal village. But the thing that happened was that I don't think anybody there had seen anybody from outside of Malaysia before. And they all came up to me and they pulled my clothes, they put their hands on my face because I looked different and I dressed different to them. And it was initially I was personally shocked, but there again, I suddenly realized my presence there was unusual. Uh,
mm,
have you had anything like that happen to you?
yeah, all the time, all the time. Yeah. mm, it's it's very interesting how how we approach it. So from European perspective, when we see a foreigner, usually, well, I mean, it became normal, from what I can tell from my experience where I live. But in some parts of Germany, there is also like this kind of, more or less negativity towards immigration and people from other countries. What I experienced in Malaysia, in part of Indonesia, in Vietnam, Morocco as well, that it's quite the opposite. People are very, very interested in who you are and why you do look so different. Especially kids. I love when kids first time see someone who is not their skin color or different. They would like really be so interested. They would come talk to you, or like just look at you like you are an alien. It's just so funny to see the facial expressions. But yeah, also people would approach you, ask where you're from, make a picture with you eventually, or invite you to have a meal with them, just chat with you. And this, yeah, I really, really think this is something that we have lost in Europe, that this core curiosity about people from different parts of the world, and the hospitality that Well, I don't know about you're from England, or what country are you
Yes, I'm
from? Yeah.
England. Yes.
I don't know how it is about England, but that's what my experience from Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's we live in such an integrated world, yet
Hmm.
uh, there is still this curiosity uh, that you experience when you move from country to country.
Mm.
So let's change track a little. And now I know that you travel quite a bit now, and I just wondered uh, whether you are, how you interact with the process of travel. I mean, are you someone who likes to uh, do it yourself, or uh, do you sometimes ask travel agents or travel consultants? What
Mm.
kind of traveler are you?
Mm. So in terms of booking flights, I think I'm really curious sometimes to see where where you could go. So sometimes what I would do is I would go on Google Flights, and then I would choose a random, or like not random, but um, a departure place, and then I would see where the plane can go throughout the world, and then you would check for the prices and like see, okay, which one is affordable, and see, okay, maybe yeah, we can go there. For example, in South Africa, we were looking for a flight to Kenya, and we were quite unsure who should go. And then we were checking for other possibilities, and there was a flight to Mauritius, which was really comfortable, one-way flight, not so expensive. So we're like, yeah, why shouldn't we go to Mauritius? I don't know. Never heard about Mauritius before, but it sounds like a nice place, beautiful island, beautiful beaches. So yeah, so we went to Mauritius. So sometimes I really like the spontaneity of it, but sometimes, especially because I'm a digital nomad, I travel and work at the same time. We're in need of some specific requirements for our accommodations, especially, and also, of course, good internet connection, um, power infrastructure, and all that stuff. So it really helps to plan ahead. And I'm not a big fan of planning too far ahead. Fortunately, I have my girlfriend who is a very good planner, and she loves to book Airbnbs and hotels and all that stuff. So I would give her yeah, she would be my travel travel agent, travel consultant, or ours, and would book the Airbnbs, or like select some Airbnbs, and then we will book it together. Yeah, but this is one of the most, I would say, pain points for digital nomads, to find good accommodation that is affordable, and um, fits the specific needs of us.
So, talking of digital nomading, uh, when did you realise that you probably uh, were and did think of yourself as a digital nomad?
So I think when we decided that we want to travel again, with the first time I went on a longer trip with my girlfriend was in 2021, when we went to Mexico and Colombia. And well, this is a quite a long story, but I just to give like a little framing. So when we met the first time when we met, she wanted to travel, and she was about to go to Mexico. And when we met, so we fell in love. I had my first proper job after my studies. I finished my studying, and I was starting my career as a project manager, and it was all fine. But then I met Julia, and she was yeah, she was about to travel. And my dream before, I wanted to go on a world trip, but then COVID-19 came, and it was not possible for me to go to Taiwan. That was planned for a long time, and then I decided to just stay and pursue my career. But then I met her, and she said, "Okay, I'm gonna go to to Mexico. Do you want to join or not?" And well, long story short, I decided I want to go, and I quit my job, and I wanted to become a freelance coach by that time already. So I knew I wanted to go into coaching and training and all that stuff. So yeah, I asked my former employer if there would be any contract that they can give me, or any remote possibility that I can do, and they declined me an employment, but they said you can work as a contractor. We have some projects that you can work on. So I was quite safe for the first, let's say, 3 months. So I was like, okay, for the first 3 months, I will survive. I can work online, and then I will need to figure out. I will need to find something else to work on. So yeah, that's so well how it all started. I started in Mexico already, and I was, trying out different things. I was a freelance writer, freelance consultant in employer branding. I was an active sourcer. I did some ghostwriting on CVs and all that stuff. So I tried plenty different projects, and by now I have my focus. So I found my focus, but it was quite a journey as well. To be honest, it's being self-employed is not that easy. Sometimes it seems like it's super easy, but it was not, definitely not. But yeah, that's how it all started.
Very excitingly now, of course, you help other people uh, who aspire uh, to work and live abroad. So how did that come about? And yeah, how do you help on their way, as they say?
Yeah, so when we started traveling, we met a lot of people who would, be full-time traveler, or not full-time traveler, but they would do a world trip on a budget, and they would, ask, just ask around, like, how long are you traveling already? And people would ask us this question, and we were like saying, yeah, 1.5 years. And they were like, what? How is that possible? How can you afford traveling for 1.5 years? And we're like, yeah, we'll work online. We have freelance business. And people would start asking us all these questions, and figuring out for themselves how they can do it. So we were giving tips for free. And so at some point, I was looking for a positioning as a coach myself. So I had my coaching training passed, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe I can do something with it, because there is certainly a demand for it. And well, I figured maybe this could be something interesting to start as a business, and that's how it all started. We introduced it to in our inner circle, and then we started to promote it on social media. We built our own website, and people were coming, talking to us. We did some workshops, and now we have clients from different fields. Most of them are Germans. One is from New Zealand, and they want to work as freelancers. Some of them in coaching, some of them in social media and marketing, and so we consult them and coach them and help them on their way to become freelance digital nomads, providing the guidance that they need, from finding the perfect positioning towards creating an offer that would fit their own values and also their needs and goals. Checking the market fit, if it's something that actually is needed out there, and find the clients that are willing to pay for their service. And then we also support them in their journey to travel, especially when they want to completely deregister and move out from Germany. So this was one of the big steps that we have taken 1.5 years ago, to actually just sell everything and put our lives in a suitcase or in a backpack and to really live the country for the good. So this is some big step that people are asking us about as well, how they can do it for themselves, if it's something they can do it. There is a lot of insecurity and a lot of let's say, fear that people have during that. And I think having someone who has already done the journey, has a coaching background, and knows, how the freelancing game works, helps a lot to get started. Yeah.
So, when you are traveling, how important is it to choose a specific location?
Well, this is very crucial. So there is some basic criteria that we have for perfect location, for important location. So first one is, of course, it should be a warm place. One of the big reasons why we went, digital nomad, full digital nomad, is because the winter in Germany, I know England is quite similar, is very, very horrible. I don't like the wet and cold weather. Mm-mm. I'm rather a tropical kind of person. I love the mountains though. I love Austria and Switzerland, but I don't like the cold, rainy weather. It's okay. Never mind. So this was one of the most, one of the main reasons. So also one of the main criteria to go to a warm place, nice climate, not too hot. So certainly not 46 degrees that we had in Marrakesh in the last week. That was horrible. But like about 25, 30 degrees is nice. And of course, security is very important. So we went to South Africa this year, and it's a beautiful place, but it's quite dangerous in some places, and the experience overall, I would say, was quite tense, because you couldn't really move freely, and you had to be careful quite all the time. So I would rather not go to a place like that for long term, but for traveling purposes, it's all fine. So I must say, we switch places and countries every 2 to 3 months, sometimes even quicker, depending on visa regulations and also our plans. But this is the first two important things, and then of course internet connections. Internet connections is crucial. So we wanted to go to Namibia and Zanzibar and some other places in Africa, but it's quite a struggle. Even in Morocco, it was quite a struggle with the Wi-Fi. As well as the power infrastructure is important. So in South Africa, you have the load sheddings. So it's might turn off the electricity for 10 times a day for an hour and a half, or even more. So you need to be prepared for that if you want to do that. So this is basically the most important things. Of course, some of the political situation is also important, cultural, religious things as well. So traveling with a girlfriend in a Muslim country is very different when you compare it to Europe, because they have their own laws and regulations and norms. You're not allowed to kiss and touch in public and all that stuff, which we're not used to. Also, like going on the beach and just taking a sun bath or swim is not that easy. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. I mean, this is something that you need to decide before. And for us, we try out a lot of things, and then we decide what we like the most. And we are very open to travel, to explore as much as possible. But I think safety, warm climate, and internet connection is the top three.
It's probably a difficult question to answer, but are there any favourite countries?
So yeah, for digital nomads, I would say Asia in general, the Southeast Asian countries, like Vietnam, Thailand especially. Really love Thailand. Indonesia, I've been to Bali. Bali is a very, very populous place to go to, especially when you travel for the first time and you want to build a business. You have quite everything there. It's a very, very cheap, affordable country with a good infrastructure, very nice people. Then as well, Malaysia. I think Malaysia is very interesting as well. Well, in Africa, definitely recommend Mauritius. Mauritius is a very beautiful place. It's quite remote though, so you cannot really travel a lot, except on the island. You can go to Reunion Island, you can go to the Seychelles or to India, fly to India. It's not so far away, but in general, you don't have that much to discover. I think Southeast Asia is the most popular place to go to. Oh, also Cambodia. Really loved Cambodia. So all that countries around there, I think it's very, yeah, it's a very good start. If you start for the first time, you want to go travel and also work remotely. Southeast Asia is safe. It's a very nice climate. It's very affordable, and you have very strong internet connection. So it checks all the boxes basically.
And do you still have any countries on your list that you'd like to go to?
How many? How many more hours do you have?
Okay, just pick one then.
one, one. So yeah, I think our next goal, and I have a very mixed feelings about this country, but I'm very curious, and I really want to do it. This is India. So probably next year we will go to India, India and Sri Lanka. Mm. Yeah, it's definitely agree to that. Although it should be very intense as well. Very crowded, very poor country, and I heard a lot of different experiences, but I think it's worth to see and to experience, and it's definitely on the top of my bucket list for sure.
So, last couple of things I wanted to ask you was, so yes, you've done some traveling, and
Mhm.
I just wondered whether you could mention things, a couple of things about things you've observed as a traveler that could be better, but also
Mhm.
things on the opposite side that worked really well. Can you think of some examples either way?
This is a very open question. So, what could be better and what worked very well? Do you can you specify it a little bit, like the in terms of the traveling itself? So moving by plane, or what exactly?
Yes, I guess the process of
Mm,
actually traveling from A to
yeah.
B.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, I've sometimes you can travel and everything just seems to work, all the
Mm-hmm.
planets in alignment. But sometimes just one small thing just seems to upset the apple cart, and
Mm,
one thing leads to another.
mm. I think one of the most difficult parts is to meet your personal needs while still staying flexible in terms of travel plans without breaking the budget too much. So it's quite a challenge to find affordable living and flights and all that stuff without being too much of without too much of preparation. So what I really loved about traveling when I was purely traveler was just being very spontaneous and just taking a trip whenever I felt like doing so. Nowadays, because of this restrictions that we have, especially in terms of accommodation, so if you want to find some good place, you need to be very well planned and do it in advance. So finding accommodation is still a problem, especially for digital nomads. There is not so much information about the accommodation, or you cannot filter, for example, for a for two tables and proper chairs, like some things like that. You need to just look at the pictures and see if that this place looks comfortable enough to work for a month or two. And also for the Wi-Fi, there is no specifications, so you need to ask the host, and sometimes they wouldn't tell you the truth. They wouldn't even know how the conditions are, all that stuff. So I think lack of information is something, or like finding out the precise information is quite a challenge. Mm, yeah, also to connect the when you think of a trip. For example, this time we wanted to go to Africa. Africa is huge. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to see. So first things you do, you ask around who has been traveled to places, what you can recommend, and you read some articles, you scroll on social media, you watch YouTube, and so on. So you collect information piece by piece, and then you do the decision. This process can take up to a year. If you, to be honest, it can be like very, very time consuming. So it actually helps a lot now with AI, for instance. So what we do with ChatGPT and all that stuff, or like asking people who have been doing larger trips to understand um, the itinerary, the route that the people would take, and what is the most convenient way to travel. Also in the country, you sometimes you don't find the information online. For instance, some bus companies, they don't sell tickets online, so you need to go there and to go to the local bus station, and then you would ask for the timetable, um, and everything like that. So things like that, it would be really nice to know in advance, because then you can also save a lot of money, because you don't book like these big corporations that would sell you tickets, and then you would still travel with several stops, because there is no direct connection, and sometimes we just arrive in the place, and the cab driver would tell us why you didn't go to this place, and this place you can just buy a cheap ticket and you go straight. So yeah, sometimes it's very difficult to find out everything. So you just need to go and to ask locals. I think this would also be a very nice way if you could have like a hub where you could connect to locals, where you could talk to the people who live there for years, and ask for advice, or get to know someone, and just make friends online, and then you meet there, and they would show you around. And the app Couchsurfing, there is this app where you can meet people and stay at their homes. This would be nice, like for travelers or nomads or something like this. I was yeah just thinking about um, struggles that we had. But what works well is, I think, the whole infrastructure that we are used to, and then you go to another country and you find out, well, basically it's not so much different. You don't have, some places you don't have trains or flights or metro or whatever, but you would always find local buses, you would always find local way of transport, because people have been traveling for thousands of years, and of course they have their own ways, they have their proven ways. And yeah, the simplest thing is just communicate with the people, the locals, and find out how they do it, and they would give you good advice always.
Absolutely. It's what the brochures do not tell you, isn't it?
Mm.
Um, and that's what talking to the local people is all about. And you've certainly done that. Well, I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you is travel is clearly going to be important to us for a long time to come. What do you think the future of travel might look like? Uh, and is there anything in the future of travel you'd like to see?
Mm. This is a very good question. Never thought about it yet. Mm. So I think travel will become easier and easier. because, as you said, we are more connected. We share so many. Well, we share so much information throughout the internet. You would find videos and photos from very remote places where people have never really visited before, and now there's a lot of YouTubers and Instagrammers that would do like some documentaries about those places, and you basically can already explore the world without even traveling. But of course, when you want to travel, it makes things a lot easier because you have an impression already. You know how the place looks like, so what is to expect. Um, so in terms of that, I think the boundary of not traveling will become lower. So for people who haven't traveled yet, they will travel. They will start traveling. More and more people can afford travel now, which is the good thing on the one hand side. On the other hand side, it's a very big environmental impact that we have by traveling so much by plane. Well, this is like two sides of the coin, of course. I think it's good to have the possibility to do it, but at the same time, kind of exploits a lot of our nature. So what I see also is that because of all these, Instagram and YouTubers, all the places that has been so remote and so innocent and so beautiful, they are getting crowded. The Himalaya is full of shit because so many people go there, and this is also like the negative aspect. And I think the next step would be to get more awareness about those things. So the impact that we do, not only see the positive aspects of it, but also learn how you can provide some positive impact, to give back to the locals, to travel sustainably. I think it's also possible. I think we can do it, but we need to be aware about it. We need to learn how to do it, and we need to to shift the mindset. Also our whole travel industry, the mindset of it needs to be changed, because we cannot exploit till the end, because then there is basically nothing to see. You will travel and then you would not experience anything anymore, because everything is dead, and this is definitely not something that we want to. So find a balance between traveling, exploring, but at the same time giving back and living a sustainable way, and paying attention to all those things is very crucial. And I hope this will be the development at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been amazing having you on the podcast, Viktor. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you again, and no doubt we'll catch up somewhere. All right.
Will
Thank you very
do.
much.
Thank you, Alex. Have a great day.
Cheers.